Hey, hi, hello, friends. It's I, Jasmine, the sequel. And guess what? Now I have the power of 1,000 raging waterfalls. Hey, friends, how have you been? I know. I've been gone for like 5 days, it feels like. Actually, it might not technically be 5 days as well. I wanted to get a video filmed and out for you guys on Monday, but I was having technical difficulties with my camera slash my phone because I dropped it and it did not want to behave. So after a lot of begging and crying and a small animal sacrifice to the iPhone gods, along with partner serving as technical support, I finally managed to get it working. With all that said, let's get into it. Today we're going to be discussing Chantel's video. I actually do want to talk about Amber as well. I will have her video up hopefully on Wednesday. But today the video I want to talk about is Chantel's It's Howdy Beezers. I was going to go back and react to some of her videos from the past week, especially the WoW video. I really wanted to talk about it, and I might still do that as a retro react and maybe put it up on Patreon for patrons, but I'm not actually going to go through it and talk about it here. I don't think it's necessary, quite frankly. Fundamentally, look, everybody knows that Chantel is high all of the time, and I think that at this point, pretty much everything that I wanted to say has been covered by other people. But this video has a little bit more information and it's a little bit newer, and I figured I would put all my thoughts about that situation into here. This video has been edited down for brevity. I say that in every video, but inevitably I get a couple comments here or on Twitter saying I've cut out so much of the context. I just try to keep it short. This video too has been cut down. I think it's only about 6.5 minutes of material that I'm reacting to. But I have a lot to say in that, so let's jump right into it, shall we?
I just thought I would go live like quick for a little bit, because I know when I don't, you guys are like all up in my biz.
The reason that people are all up in her biz, quote unquote, when she doesn't go live is because people are worried that she might be dead. I know that sounds hyperbolic, but genuinely when she doesn't come on live without like any kind of explanation, I get worried that she might have overdosed. That's the first thing that comes to mind now. The second thing that comes to mind is that she might have been in a fatal car accident because she was driving while under the influence, both of which have been a very common reoccurring theme on her channel. Chantel has set the expectation that she will be on camera all of the time. I don't have this expectation from other channels. I don't even have this expectation from Amber Lynn for all that she said she would schedule live. I assumed at some point she would cancel it. It's just the kind of consistency that she has set. For better or for worse, Chantel has set the expectation that she will be on live for multiple hours a day. And so when she deviates from that, especially because it's been the one constant in her life, people assume that something is wrong. Should she have set this expectation? I don't know. Are we wrong in assuming that? I mean, yes and no. She doesn't owe us this content. At the same time, I don't think the emotions people feel comes from being denied content. I think it comes from people being worried about her health. So I'm like hesitant to really fault people for that. And I know some people are definitely meaner than others. Not everyone's going to react the same way. Some people are just, mad when she doesn't come on live because they're like, well, you promised us daily content and so you should deliver, even if they don't like her or they don't like her content. But I think a lot of people genuinely feel that she could be in harm's way and not know it. And we wouldn't know about it until maybe like Pete's made a post on his Twitter or something like that.
I can't say where I am, Brooke, but I am in a safe location.
Okay. She is obviously wearing lingerie. She's got this frilly little red strap thing on. Those pillows aren't her own. I have never seen a pillow like that in her house. And she's not giving us the location of where she is. But wherever she is very comfortable being on camera. And this video originally was 48 minutes long, right? So wherever she is, she's comfortable enough with that person to be on live for 48 minutes. Now, let's go through a little thought experiment. If she had picked up another person in, say, I don't know, through Grindr or something. Not Grindr. Grindr is the one for LGBTQIA+. Tinder. I am not at all in the game, as you can see. Tinder, or like Bumble, or any one of those other dating apps. Say she picked up someone through there, or someone more traditional, you know, like she went to a bar, she really hit it off with someone and she hooked up with someone. When she goes to their house, do you think she'd be comfortable whipping out her phone and immediately start talking about the fact that she is a YouTuber and she's expected to be on stream? Wherever she is, she's comfortable, right? So what does that leave us? There's BB's place. So maybe she could be at BB's house, but given the emotional distance he's kept from her other than her addiction, I don't think that's likely. And that there's a lot of messy emotions there, right? She still really counts on BB. She still really relies on BB. She still seems to have a lot of love and affection for him. So I don't think she'd go there for a hookup. She could be at her mom's place, potentially, right? Maybe she didn't come for a hookup. Maybe she's just lying there. But then why would you be in frilly red lingerie with day-old makeup and smeared off lipstick? Doesn't seem likely. Maybe she's at the random hookups house, but then we come back to, again, the problem of, well, why is she live streaming then? And I'll point it out again when we get to it, but at some point in the stream, she mentions that she's going to turn on her CPAP machine and she's going to go to sleep. So either she brought her CPAP machine with her wherever she was going or whoever she was hooking up. She was that confident, which I don't think would happen because Chantel's a very insecure person. Or she knew that the other person was a surefire thing, which maybe she's that good at reading people, but I don't think so. Or last but not least, she already knew that they would have no problem with having a CPAP machine there because they already were familiar with her. And all of this leads us back to our old friend, Method Man. There is no place else she could be. Now, I'm sure you guys are probably well aware of that. That's where everyone's mind would go. And so it makes me wonder, why this whole coy act of I'm in a safe location, but I can't disclose where I am? I think it's twofold. One, definitely I think Method Man is upset with her about the fact that she disclosed so much information about him online, including his face, his address, his real name, all of the juice she spilled. And it puts him in danger, I think. If he's not a citizen, he's in danger of being deported if he does something that the government doesn't like, say, deal drugs, for example. And if you're putting his name and his face and everything all over the internet, it could bring more attention to you than you want. So maybe a condition of him, you know, allowing her to come back over or them continuing their rendezvous was that, you know, I will not be on your channel. I don't want to be mentioned on your channel, all that. And so this is Chantel's way of coyly, like, saying, like, well, I'm with someone, but I'm not going to tell you who. You know, because she needs us to know that she's hooking up. She needs us to know that she's getting sex because that's a part of who she is. It's part of her brand. Chantel is like this fat, confident, wild woman. That's what she wants to be, at least. That's the image she wants to portray to the world. None of that is true. Chantel is definitely fat, but she's neither confident nor wild. She is out of control and she is neurotically insecure almost. And so her putting this information out there, this vague tweeting in live video format, is essentially her way of saying, I'm with someone, I'm still getting D, so be jealous of the fact that I'm getting some and you're not. But at the same time, I think the only person she would really be comfortable getting that D from at this point is Method Man, and he doesn't want to be on camera. The other part of this is most definitely for the attention and the drama of it all, to build a mystery around her channel, something else for people to focus on that isn't her drug addiction. I think that she thinks that we are as easily distracted by this shit as she is.
Yeah, guys. No, I told you, like, I want to keep some things in my life private, so it includes getting up in some.
Look, if she wants to get dick downed by whoever, I don't really give a shit. I don't think it should be this guy. There is a ton of people out there. If I can throw a Dr. House quote on you, you know, people will have sex with just about anything. Fat people, thin people, tall people, short people, complete strangers, relatives. So she can find somebody out there to have sex with that isn't him. And the reason why it's so problematic that she's back with him is because he is where the drug addiction started. He was who introduced her to the cocaine, right? And she might have gone back to it of her own free will, but that initial introduction was through him. And he has easy access to drugs in a way that she doesn't. You know, she turned around and she said, I want to try some E, and he immediately was able to procure it for her. He had crack pipes lying around the house. I think I had someone very kindly in the comments, by the way, and I'm so sorry. I read everybody's comments. I just don't always get a chance to respond. You guys are so amazing and so kind. I get almost like 75, 100 messages per video, and I can't respond to everything, but I read everything. And I had a very kind commenter tell us about in the comments. My mind just completely wandered and I forgot what I was going to say. I had a very kind commenter put in the comments her own experience with drug addiction, which was her parents had a drug addiction problem, her dad in particular, and that her dad would leave crack pipes lying around the house. And that maybe that's what it was, somebody living with him. They didn't add this part. This is my own supposition. But also that says to me that a level of comfort, right? You're comfortable in your own house. You might not be so comfortable in another person. So either he's living with someone who's doing hardcore drugs, or he is using hardcore drugs. Or he has people coming around him who have so much faith in him that they can do hardcore drugs with him. None of that speaks well of Chantel associating with him while she's in recovery. And she's mentioned several times before that, you know, yeah, I might have liked him, but I also think that, you know, he was toxic and that we weren't in a good relationship. So it seems to me like she had some sort of awareness about this problem, and she chooses to continue doing this. I can't understand that. I can't understand like choosing to have like a bad habit. I can't understand choosing to be with someone who is obviously toxic for you, someone who literally led you down the path of like hardcore drug addiction. I can't understand that. So I hope it's not him. To get back to my original point, that doesn't mean though that if it's not him that she should feel the need to disclose everything to us about whoever she's seeing. She is well within her rights to keep whatever information she wants private. You're not going to hear me come up here and say that she should tell us everything. But when you don't want to tell us something, don't tell us something. Don't like vague talk about it. Don't like bring it up slyly in conversation. Don't be like, you know, getting some and like dropping breadcrumbs everywhere. Because what you are asking for is for people to follow that trail of breadcrumbs back to where you live, metaphorically and literally, because people will. You know the kind of community that you have around you. You know the kind of community that you've built. And yes, while it's unfortunate that your community mostly consists of people who seem to detest you, it is also the reality of the situation. Wanting stuff to be better doesn't mean that it's magically better. So your community is very, very negative. There's a whole group of dedicated people, some of whom I think are very creepy and invasive, and a lot of who hate you, dedicated to doxing you and doxing anyone in your life. So why would you put any information, any clue out there whatsoever about this person, right? If I didn't want you guys to know something, I just simply wouldn't mention it. I've said this before. I have entire facets of my life that you guys don't know about. I mentioned this in my last video, and I got a lot of replies from people saying, show me your kitties. So I'm going to insert a picture, cat tags, of my sister / my parents' piece of crap cat. Her name is Melanie. We call her Melu for short, which is very cute because it also kind of means dirty. Meli in my language, in Urdu. I don't know why I call it my language. It's not personal to me. Means she's dirty. Anyway, I got sidetracked by cats. What I was saying before was that if you don't want people to know about it, just don't mention it. Don't bring it up. Don't be vague about it. Don't make any indication that this is a thing that is happening in your life ever. All you have to do is not mention it, and people won't know. But she has this need to tell everybody everything because she wants to be perceived in a certain way. And because she craves that attention, she craves that perception from other people, she can't not share it. She has to let people know that she's getting some, because otherwise people might think that she's a sexless person. And God, wouldn't that be awful if people thought that she couldn't get any when she wanted some? She has to keep up this facade of being this party girl, this wild child, as opposed to what she actually is. A middle-aged drug addict having sex on a dirty mattress in someone else's floor. This is not wild child. You're not in your 20s doing lines of cocaine with the Hilton sisters. You are somebody who is very quickly approaching death because of the life choices that you've made. And rather than rectifying any of them, you're holding on to this delusion of the kind of person you want to be. It all ties back into the same thing. It all comes from the same thing. This refusal to move on, this refusal to let people perceive you for what you really are. And it leads her to making more and more reckless decisions. It's why she can't not let us know. It's why she can't just let sleeping dogs lie. We can scream till we're blue in the face that she shouldn't tell us anything if she doesn't want us to know anything. But it's a fundamental part of her psychology. It's as much her addiction as the cocaine and the food and the weed.
No, I want to go live because I want to be able to go live when I want to, but also have a life, or I don't know, maybe.
So, I want to be able to go live when I want to. No one is stopping you from going live. But like with most things in life, every action has a reaction. If you are choosing to come on here and put information out there into the internet for people to consume, understand that some of that blowback is going to come and land on you. Understand that people are going to then construct stories because you've given us just a little information. It's like one of those writing prompts that you get during NaNoWriMo, National Writing Month, which I do believe is in November, which is nice because it's on my birthday. I am not a writer. If any of you are concerned, I don't have any creative skills in that department, but I do like reading a lot of everything, fan fiction and otherwise. I love fan fiction so much, so much. Anyway, she is the type of person who she cannot avoid it. She can't not come on live to share with us. And so she continuously puts herself in this position, even though she knows fundamentally that what she's doing is going to lead her into trouble. She knows fundamentally this is going to head down a bad path, and that you can't just avoid the consequences of your actions. But that's all her life is about. It's about doing whatever she wants and never thinking about the consequences and never wanting the consequences. It's why she eats until she's literally sick, because she doesn't consider that the food that she's eating is going to cause her to gain weight and fundamentally lead her to the health outcomes that she has now. She wants to have the high of the cocaine without the withdrawal that you feel afterwards, and the all the other things that come with it, the emotional dependency, the debt that you can put yourself into, the burning of bridges. She wants the high of the weed without any of the accountability that comes from being high on weed. You can't use words like medicated and then assume that people will be, sorry about that if I touched the mic. You can't use words like medicated and then assume that people will be okay with you using that. I know people who have been medicated using weed. In particular, I know some elderly people who were given edibles as part of their medication to help them increase their appetite. One person in particular I'm thinking of is not a family member like through blood, but like a family member through marriage. And they are very, very frail. Very frail they were towards the end of their life. They weighed something like 40 kgs, which is nothing. And they weren't very tall, right? But still. So they were prescribed edibles to help them eat more and help them gain weight because they were so very frail, right? That's medicated. They are still taking the same things, whatever Chantel's taking, but that's medicated because it's under the supervision of a doctor. You can't say things like that and then be like, oh, well, I said it's medicated, so it's fine. That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. You have an action, there will be a reaction, and you have to be responsible for both. What the reaction is not necessarily your fault, because sometimes you can have a very innocuous action and the reaction can be extraordinary, right? Sometimes you say something and you don't mean to, and all of a sudden it becomes a huge deal, or you say something in innocence, or you say something out of ignorance, and all of a sudden the reaction you get is not one that you can expect. But that doesn't mean that you get to dictate the reaction of others. You have only the control over your own life. So if you don't want the reaction that comes from other people, control your own actions. Because fundamentally, that's the only choice any one of us have. I can only impact my own actions. I can't even impact the actions that partner takes. I can only ask him to modify his behavior. What he chooses to do beyond that point is on him. And the same choice that she has. Choosing not to avail yourself from it. You can't say, well, but I still want to have a life. You're putting yourself in the situation where everybody around you will be doxxed. So don't be surprised if people around you get doxxed. As much as I would like to say that's not on us, that shouldn't be like that and people should dox, all of that is absolutely true. It doesn't mean that that's not the community that you've built. Wanting things to be different does not mean that you can just ignore reality.
I'm gonna set my machine up and go to bed soon.
See, that's what I was saying when I mentioned before that she had her CPAP machine here. If you guys know of any other friends that she has, she's mentioned Reina before, but I don't think she's that interested in Reina when it comes to, you know, sexy times. And I don't think there's anybody else that she's mentioned as far as romantic rendezvous goes. So if you guys know who else she could be talking about, do let me know. But in my mind, there is no one else it could possibly be.
Hi, Marissa. I know, guys.
I just am freezing here because I want you to take a look at her pupils. They are very fucking dilated. So she either is under the influence, in which case I'm not sure how she drove here. I think she mentioned she's actually been here all day, which means that she's done something here. Whether it's legal or illegal remains to be seen. But she's definitely done something here because otherwise her pupils would not be this dilated.
Because I feel like it. No, I really did. I was like, I'm just going live. I've been live like every day a million times. So.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that it is as much a routine. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember the word. It's as much a routine for her as it is for everybody else, right? Everybody expects her to go live and she expects her to go live, and so she goes live. It's almost reflexive. But the other part of that is, I've said before, what she does is like therapy for her, except not the effective kind of therapy, not the good kind of therapy. I had therapy today, fun fact, and I felt awful. It's one of the reasons why I got delayed in filming, because I was supposed to film after my virtual therapy appointment, and then all I did was like cry for several hours, and so that didn't help. It wasn't like I wasn't productive. I could barely even function and do my like job, right? And between that and the phone issues, it was just not going to happen. But with Chantel, what she expects from the group is what I expect out of therapy. It's that to feel better. But with me, it's a long-term thing, a slow process of healing. It's like pulling out tiny needles one at a time. What Chantel expects is for someone just to come and rub balm all over her needle-covered flesh. And that's what they do, but when the balm wears off, the pain is still there. The group that she has built is full of enablers. Anyone who could have spoken sense to her at this point is long gone. So all she's left with are people who are either very, very, very supportive to the point of believing almost any delusional thing that comes out of Chantel's mouth, which is not helpful to her, or they're people who are too scared to stand up to her, which we'll see an example of that later on. And last but not least, you've got the occasional people who come up who do have the guts to say something who immediately get blocked because she can't handle dissent. It's one of the reasons she's unwilling to go to therapy. But it's not helpful. This isn't helpful. You can't improve and you can't change your negative behavior if people around you are always telling you how your negative behavior is fine. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the channel, but I was not a very kind person when I was younger. I broke a lot of people's hearts, mostly in romantic situations. I was a giant bitch, and I had anger issues. I don't think it's all gone away, right? But with therapy, with self-reflection, with growing, just getting older, I have come to understand why I do the things that I do. And with better self-understanding, I've been able to treat people the way that I think people deserve to be treated and the way that I wasn't treating them. You can't do any of those things if you're not willing to understand that sometimes you can be a shit, and just to understand that you have to grow from that. If you think you're always in the right, there's no room for improvement. There's no room for growth. You'll stagnate. And it's also not true. There are very few people on earth in general who have ever been born without sin. And if you guys don't believe me, look up some of the controversies around Mother Teresa. Sorry, I'm scratching my foot too, so I might be at like a weird angle. But if you don't believe me, look up some of the controversies surrounding Mother Teresa or Mahatma Gandhi. There is no person who has been born outside of like religious figures who are without sin, who haven't done anything wrong. But if you're unwilling to confront those negative aspects of yourself, you're never going to be able to try and do anything about them. And maybe you still can. I'm not saying that, once you know that you're a bad person, you have to get better. Sometimes people just see the bad portions of themselves and they're like, I guess I am who I am. But Chantel isn't even at that stage. Like, forget trying to improve. She isn't even willing to recognize when she's doing something wrong. She isn't even willing to recognize that she is actively putting herself in a position where she might fall back into drug addiction and put her family through that all over again just because she wants some dick. Like, fucking buy a dildo like the rest of us. God.
Oh. Just, I love that emoji. I need to make some new ones.
I left that in there mostly because I don't like when she does stuff like this, because she'll say stuff like, oh yeah, I don't know how to do this. You know, I wonder if it's difficult to do that. And she'll suggest it offhandedly in the comments. But what she wants out of this is for people to come up and be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll make that for you. Oh yeah, sure, I'll look that up for you. Oh, let me do that for you. She doesn't want to do it herself. That's why she mentions these things in comments. And we know this from the fact that a lot of times when she can't figure it out and when someone doesn't offer right away, she'll ping on it again and she'll be like, oh, would someone mind looking it up for me? Could someone do this for me? When she says I have to do that, what she means is, could one of you take that responsibility on? I hate it. I genuinely hate it. This is your channel. You should be doing the work. But more importantly, by doing it this way, you put the onus on the other person. So if they ever turn around and say, hey, I did you a favor, she can just easily say, well, I never asked you to. Well, you very seriously implied it, and you're in a position where you can exploit the parasocial relationship that you've built with this group of, quite frankly, from my opinion, sad individuals who seem to only have your life to live. So the fact that you are exploiting that, and then you won't even give them the owed gratitude that comes with having asked an official favor, I think is a pretty shitty thing to do.
That's the thing, Ashley, because look where it got me, you know, in trouble. It's my own fault, but I wasn't careful.
So here she's talking about like going live and just talking and sharing about her life. And she's like, well, you know, look what it got me, you know, like it got me in trouble. And it did get her in trouble. Absolutely. Her actions often get her in trouble. But I would just like a little bit of recognition of the fact that it also got other people in trouble, because fundamentally she gets something out of the trouble, right? She gets more views for her channel. She gets more subscribers. She gets more drama and intrigue. Even if people don't subscribe, which they often don't for immoral reasons, she still gets increased viewership and therefore increased money. There is no acknowledgement of the people that she hurts around us, right? So her parents, who now have the social backlash of having a daughter who behaves this way on the internet. Now, whether you think that her parents should be shamed for it or not is irrelevant, because they will get some of that. Her sister, who she's called slow on the internet, you know, Pete, who's pretty much had his entire personal life revealed to everybody because of his association with Chantel, BB, who probably still has people digging into whether or not he's dating somebody new. And then you've got the people that she hooks up with for short periods of times. Right? You've got the Nyquvist and the Polish guy and, you know, Method Man. And while I couldn't give less of a shit about Method Man if I tried, the rest of the people in there, some of them especially, don't deserve to have had all of their information leaked, especially because they get nothing out of it. The only thing they get is an association with Chantel, and I can only imagine that comes with more heartache than anything else.
Yeah. It's not that I mean to pique curiosity, like I know it would, but it's just, I'm not at home all the time now, so, and I'm going to be moving, so my reality is going to be different.
Couple things here. She says that, you know, it's not that she means to pique curiosity, it's just that, you know, she's not at home all the time anymore. Well, the good thing about these lives is that you dictate when you do them. So you could very well, if you really wanted to do a live, you could very well have come on later on in the day. You could have come on earlier on in the day. You could have put on a different shirt, been at a different angle, have sat in your car and done it, have been driving somewhere and have done it from a bathroom, made up a better story, anything else. You chose not to do any of that. You chose to go live exactly in the position you are, lying on somebody else's pillow in lingerie. And then you expect people not to speculate. They will. They absolutely will. That's just the community that you have. And as for the other stuff, where she says that, well, I'm not home all the time, I'm unsure where it is that you are going. Because you haven't done any kind of apartment searching, so I really doubt that she's going to look at new places. And with the COVID restrictions in place, I very much so doubt that a lot of those places are having in-person viewings right now anyway. And she hasn't made any kind of serious attempt at like figuring out if she's moving alone or whatnot, right? So this brings me back to where are you going right now? Have you gotten into an inpatient treatment? If she had, I feel like she would have mentioned it just because it gives her more cover that, look, I'm doing something for my health. So she's not going there. Maybe she's visiting her parents more, but then in that case, she wouldn't have to be sly about it. I mean, she didn't care when we knew she was at her uncle's place. So where is she going? The only thing I could think is that she's reconnected with Method Man. And she's like, well, I'm not going to be home a lot, is her way of saying, well, I'm going to be here more often. I'm going to be with Method Man more often. And yes, I know he has a name. I just like Method Man more.
Has nothing to do with being with a man or anything like that. It's just my life.
I don't know whether or not that's true. I think some of that is probably because she has to figure out her living situation. Despite what Chantel says, I don't actually think it's true that they came to her house and offered her a beautiful new place to move to because she'd been doxxed on the internet because of her own poor actions. Fundamentally, corporations don't care, and big like buildings like these are generally rented by like a company, right? They're not individually owned condos a lot of the time. This could be, but the impression I got was that it wasn't. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Especially if someone came to her and said, we'll move you to a different place. That sounds like somebody who, like a building manager of sorts. So there's no reason for them to do that. They can just kick you the fuck out. And I don't see any reason why they would have done that. I think that's a cover for Chantel. That's something she's saying so that when she inevitably moves, she can say, well, they helped me move here because of, you know, what you guys did. When in reality, they might have just come and told her that, listen, we don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going on. But we've been getting a lot of complaints from random phone calls saying that, hey, there's a very morbidly obese lady doing cocaine in one of the apartments. And we've had the cops come to your house several times. And this is not tenable to our other tenants, which I think is fair. I don't think it's fair to unhome Chantel for these reasons, but I can understand other tenants getting irritated that there's weird noises and like cops being called at all hours of the night, especially if there's children around, right? Kids can be sensitive to that kind of things, especially if you live somewhere where there's communities of color. I'll be fundamentally honest with you that I haven't done anything in my life where I really need to talk to a cop in a serious manner other than like being pulled over for like driving too fast or something like that. But every time I've had the cop drive behind me, I felt like a shiver go up my spine in terror. I've had a cop pull me over once and ask me to get out of my car because he wanted to show me how fast I was going. And literally I was vibrating so hard in my seat, like my hands were like shivering. And that might not seem like a very relatable thing to you. It might seem like I'm being overly dramatic, but that's the fear some people can experience when they're confronted by cops. And I don't do well under pressure where I think my life might be at stake, funnily enough. Sometimes when I don't think there's anything I can do and I'm by myself and it's the middle of the night, I get scared. Who would have thunk it? So I can understand people being fed up with this. And she might move, but I don't want anyone to be under the misconception that the building moved her. If she moves, it's because the building asked her to leave. And I wonder how that's going to affect poor Pete, because I think he's the one who's on the actual contract.
Well, Laura, I don't see like you say that in a derogatory way, like she wants views and money. Yeah, but like people who are content creators, that's their job. So yes, I do like having money to pay my bills.
So, Flora's comment is not derogatory. It's a statement of fact. You want views and money. You take it as a derogatory fact because you don't like people pointing out the very obvious reason why you go on live so much, because you get super chats for it. And the fact that you get a lot of ass pats. I think that if it wasn't a combination of money and ass pats, she wouldn't be on here. If Chantel's channel got demonetized, I guarantee you that 90% of the content that she does now would go away. That's why she was so careful when she was talking about the Eugenia Cooney situation, but she kept mentioning deplatforming, but she didn't mention the other big thing that people were talking about, which was demonetizing. No one is saying don't have a voice. Well, some people are, but very few people are saying that. Most people are saying you shouldn't get paid to promote an eating disorder. That's the thing that people have a problem with. And that's what Chantel here doesn't recognize, is that no one cares if you want to come on here and you want to share your life and you want to talk and all those things. So when Flora says she wants the views and the money, you're discounting the fact that a lot of the stuff you do is trolling for attention because you love the attention, but you also kind of love the money. And there wouldn't be anything wrong with it if you weren't taking it and literally putting it up your nose. And that's why people have an issue with it so much. Because you either eat your money or you snort your money now.
Just the tone, I don't know. Not like derogatory maybe in a rude way, just towards YouTube as like a thing in general.
Absolutely not. She does this a lot where she will depersonalize issues and she'll go, well, you know, it wasn't that it was offensive towards just me. It was offensive towards all people who do YouTube. Absolutely not. That's absolutely not how she feels. She personally felt attacked. And I honestly understand that. I too would feel personally attacked if I was using the money to smoke and do drugs and someone said, hey, you're using our money to smoke and do drugs. Chantel is a defensive person and the actions that she's doing are indefensible.
Like, people think, like, you're looking at my fat head right now and this is my job. Well, yeah.
No, your job is to entertain us. This is how you choose to do it. I watch a ton of other YouTubers. Some of them are not at all related to the Amberverse. I like watching cooking channels a lot. And I like watching furniture makeover channels a lot. They're very therapeutic. And there's like other stuff in there too. But those are the two big ones. So that's their job too. You could do something different. You could do anything different, honestly. You could make vlogs again. You could make cooking videos again. You could do cookbangs. You could do mukbangs. You don't have to be doing this. Your job is to entertain people on YouTube. This is how you choose to do it. So when you say, well, you're looking at my fat head right now, I guess theoretically we'd be looking at your fat head all the time. We don't have to be looking at your fat head lying on a pillow in your lingerie on someone's dirty mattress. You could be doing things. You could be doing your makeup. You could be going places. Remember those walking videos that you said you'd be making? What happened to that?
I'm hoping that I'm at least entertaining you and hanging out with you, I guess. Okay.
She's entertaining us, but she's not entertaining us the way that she thinks she's entertaining us. She's entertaining us the way that train wrecks are often entertaining. I don't think she's entertaining in the way that she thinks she's entertaining, which is that people find her witty and charming and enjoyable. I don't find Chantel to be any one of those things. But I think the larger beats of her life, the addiction, the psychology behind why she does what she does, I think all of those are interesting. Just none of the stuff that she actually thinks is interesting. And I especially don't find her stupid out of her mind on multiple different substances to be entertaining in the least. I don't care for that. I'd much rather take a fake made-up story time. At least those were interesting.
I'm projecting it. If I want people to speculate, honestly, not really. I just, in a real world, I'd be like, oh, she's not, this is not her home, so.
No, she does want people to speculate. She just doesn't want people to come to the conclusions that we will come to. And she knows this even on some sort of level. Because if she didn't know this, she wouldn't have said, well, you know, in like an ideal situation, they would just be like, oh, well, you know, she's not at home. They would take away all the positives that, ooh, Chantel's getting some. Ooh, she has a busy social life. And they wouldn't come away with, fuck, she's with Method Man again. Fuck, he might be supplying her with drugs again. Because no one wants to admit that, right? She doesn't want anyone to think about that. She doesn't want anyone to admit to those things. But those are the things that people think about. She wants the good part of it, not the bad part of it. Once more, she wants the high of the cocaine, not any of the emotional withdrawal and the physical symptoms that come on the back end of it. It's her entire life story. She only ever wants the good. She's never willing to engage or deal with the bad.
Okay, she has a life other than what we see in her friggin' kitchen, and just move on.
But you don't have a life outside of what we see in your friggin' kitchen. You've shown us no indication that you have anything else going on in your life other than that. The only thing you've had in recent months has been Method Man. So if you have a life again, it's reasonable for people to assume that it's Method Man. No?
I know, I've shared so much that it's hard going back to not sharing. No.
So I've shared so much, it's hard not to go back to not sharing. Girl, you need to talk to a therapist about your attention addiction problems, because it shouldn't be that hard to just not tell people things. I not tell people things all the time. Do you know how many poor customer service interactions I've had with people where I've just smiled and grinned through it and been like, I don't agree with what you're doing? It's kind of part of being a grown-up. You to not tell people things all the time. Do you think my boss needs to hear the 45-minute long speech I have prepared in my head for the difficult manner in which I got to the solution of a problem that I was facing? No. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to know these things about your life. Don't share them and we would never know. But you can't. You're fundamentally incapable of it. And you won't address why you're incapable of it.
Oh, Joe, I swear. Grandma, on my grandma, on everything. Everything dear to me.
In this clip, she's talking about not having done cocaine. I'm going to throw up a screenshot of white flakes around her nose. Now, it could be one of two things. One, when you've done cocaine for a while, you get nose sores, and she already picks her nose, and she blows her nose a lot, so it could be that. That said, she also picks and blows her nose a lot because she's done cocaine, so very possible that it's acting up again because she's done cocaine. So, I don't know. I would like to hope not, but given the way that she's been acting, I really do think she is on something. You'll see instances of that later on, too, by the way. And by the way, there's a little white flake on her lip too, and she's got lipstick on. And the reason I point it out is because a freshly applied lipstick, or even if you've been kissing someone, if there was anything on your mouth, it would come off, right? This lipstick looks fairly freshly applied. It's not very new. It's not like she just put it on before getting on camera, but it was put on and then she maybe kissed someone, or maybe she like had a little bit of it transfer onto a cup. But she's got a white flake on her mouth again. So it doesn't look like dry skin, because if her lipstick was causing her lips to peel, it would be much more apparent. It wouldn't just be one spot that's dry like that. It would actually look a little bit darker because the oxidization on dry skin is different than the oxidization on like wet, moist lips, right? It would have like darker colored flakes almost coming up. It wouldn't be pure white like that. That looks like a fleck of something landed on her lip. Now, it might seem like I'm being a little bit crazy, but that combined with the energy that she seems to have in this video and the white flakes around her nose tells me of a very bad story.
I think I'm used to cannabis, Dawn. Like, other than the edibles, if I just smoke, I'm like, okay. Like, I'm not...
She's used to being stoned out of her mind. She's used to being stoned out of her mind on everything and anything, especially these past few days. The levels of just inebriation that she has displayed on her channels have been startling and frightening. And the fact that Pete just sits there makes me unbearably mad. It does.
Yeah, I am Judo Jack, 100%.
She's talking about being sober. I don't believe her, even a little bit.
I hear slapping. I'm slapping my leg.
So I wanted to leave that in because she's slapping her leg a lot. It's something that I kind of do too. I shake my leg sometimes. You'll see me every once in a while like vibrate on camera. That's kind of what's happening. I'm just like vibrating my leg. It's a nervous habit I do when I'm uncomfortable. It's also something I do when I'm feeling very jittery. I have a mug of coffee. Well, I drank all of it, but this had 2 shots of espresso in it and oat milk, which if you guys haven't had oat milk, what are you waiting for? It is the best coffee addition, like best. It is better than like any other milk that you can put in there. It's better than cow's milk. It's better than cream. Ugh, oat milk is where it's at, you guys. And my parents have an espresso machine, so it's like joy. Anyway, I got distracted. What I mean to say is I have a lot of energy because I drink so much coffee. And so when I get jittery, I tend to bounce my leg. Chantal is not a particularly energetic person, but if she's getting jittery, then she's getting her energy from somewhere. Where? If you just had multiple rounds of sex with someone, you'd be tired. Maybe it has something to do with that white fleck on her mouth. Who knows?
Yeah, actually, thank you. With Shannon, yes. People were, and like, you have a hater who's gonna meet you at the the concert, and like, so go ahead. It's a free city.
2 things. One, the person that she's talking about here is FFG, who she's always seems to be talking about these days. And it's good to know that that Frenchie has approval from Chantal to attend a weekend concert. Second, I am very jealous if she gets to go to a Weeknd concert. I've been wanting to go forever, but the one time that Weeknd was performing somewhere close to me, and it wasn't even that close to me, like the tickets were like $700. I was so mad. I could not afford them. So I'm like super jealous. I would love to go to a Weeknd concert. I love the Weeknd. As for Chantal bumping into Frenchie, oh, I would give so much to see that. So much. Chantal has so much bark and such little bite that it's actually funny when it comes to in-person interaction. She is such an uncomfortable person in actual like real life scenarios that, man, that would just be hilarious to me. I would love that. If she would actually meet, like, I would love if it was ever a possibility to, like, go to Montreal and actually meet Chantal in person and have a conversation with her in person. Like, I would give a lot. Like, genuinely, I wouldn't mind the travel. I don't think she knows who I am and she has no interest in meeting me. But if I could, I would. I would love to see what she is like in real life. Do you see that? Just
Shrinking project. It sounds like you're cracking a whip. You guys think I'm super kinky all the time or what?
that's the impression that you've given us by all of your wild made-up stories. Or at least that's the impression that she wants to give us. I don't think Chantal is kinky at all. I think that Chantal would settle for just about any type of sex, despite what she would have us believe, because I don't think she's had all that many partners, and fundamentally I think she craves validation in any form she can find it.
What? It's just me slapping my leg.
But
What are
why?
you talking about, Tracy? Like, do you want to leave then, or what? Like, what's your problem?
So Tracy is one of her subs who took an issue with what Chantal was saying, and Chantal immediately turned on her. Now Tracy has been in her chats for a while, and Tracy is generally a pretty big supporter of Chantal's. But this absolute disgusted face that she's making at someone who's a long-time subscriber for saying one negative thing is the exact reason why this group is never going to help Chantal progress to anything. Because fundamentally, she cannot take criticism from them. They aren't in the room with her. They aren't real. They can't hold her accountable in any way that really matters. And because of the fact that she can just turn the camera off whenever she wants, she cannot learn from her experience. She cannot take the feedback. She can't. She needs real life people whose presence means something to her, to actually be able to make any kind of a change in her life. That's why she's willing to share her problems on the internet but not actually talk to her parents. Internet people aren't real to Chantal. They aren't real to Chantal. She doesn't think that they're actually there. Because if they were, do you remember that comment that she made? That when you're in addiction, you reach out to somebody, you finally realize how lonely you were. And I do think she's lonely. She only has Pete's and her cats for company. That's it. She doesn't have friends anymore, not anyone with any kind of emotional depth to it. She doesn't even really have her family anymore because she keeps so much from them. All that's really left for her now is this internet audience. And she doesn't know them. You cannot have a one-sided relationship like that. I tell my friends things all the time and they tell me things all the time. And our relationship isn't always peachy, but it's solid. It's built on actual love. Her relationship with her subs is built on ass pats and them giving her money. That's not a friendship, and you don't get any of the benefits from it. None of the accountability from it.
I don't understand. Like, I never get it.
You choose not to get it. She gets a lot more than I think she wants us to believe. She just doesn't want to understand why people might be mad at her. It's easier to think that everybody is a hater than understanding that fundamentally there could be something wrong with your own actions.
What else is new? Every single thing I do is going to bring haters out of the woodwork. My goal is not to try to keep things calm as possible anymore because it's just not going to happen.
I think fundamentally that's fine. You shouldn't try and keep the haters at bay because it's never going to work, and anything you do is just going to backfire on you anyway. You may as well get some sort of a benefit out of it. You may as well try and, I don't know, make something of your channel, maybe monetize on that, and like use it to build a bigger platform for yourself. All of that said, the way that you're phrasing this now, it's that like any innocuous actions that I take also result in people getting mad at me. When in reality, the actions that you're talking about are not innocuous. They're not tiny little mistakes that you're making. When you're driving under the influence, when you're so blasted that you can't keep your own head up, those are not tiny mistakes. When you're on cocaine and lying to your family, when you're hanging out with someone who's supplying you with hardcore drugs, those are not tiny mistakes. Those are not tiny actions that you're taking that no one's going to criticize. People don't give a shit that you're getting fucked, Chantel. People give a shit if you're getting fucked, if you catch my drift.
So I might as well just live my life. Do what I want.
Yeah.
If you want to support me, I mean...
This dismissive attitude is going to come back and bite her in the ass. It will. When people start leaving. And they will. There's a death to every channel, including mine. Every channel comes to an end if you can't figure out how to reinvent and re-energize your channel. And Chantel is incapable of putting in any kind of effort. It's why Amber Lynn's having money problems. That's why she's seeing the slow death of her channel, because she cannot change her content. She doesn't know how to. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to put in the work. She doesn't want to go through the transitionary period of when you lose subs and then you gain subs because of the new content. She can't handle any of that. And Chantel can handle it even less. And because of all of that, she's never going to grow. Not in any fundamental way. She's never going to become a big YouTuber. She's only ever going to survive. She's only ever going to scrape by. And if that's what she wants in her life, then I guess that's fine. But that's not the impression that she gives us. So I would be kind to the people who are supporting you, because those people are what are putting food on your table and coke in your nose.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, Sofa King. I don't know why people are mad. Like, I'm trying to be as honest as I can be with people, you know?
That means nothing to us. From a confessed liar, that literally means nothing to us.
Well, because you're supposed to be a supporter, Tracy, not shame me for I don't even know what your problem is.
Supporter doesn't mean that you have to support every single action that somebody takes. I have had people who have watched my channel for a while. Sometimes they drop off, sometimes they come back on. Sometimes they're very critical of stuff I have to say. And sometimes I will look at their criticisms and I think, you know what, this is valid. I've had people tell me that they really like me, but maybe I was too harsh or too mean in a video. And I'll go back and I'll watch and I'll think, was I too harsh or too mean? I take time to reflect on it. I take time to think about it. I don't know if I'll be able to do that forever, given I'm very blessed. Given the way that my channel has been growing recently, sometimes it's hard to read all of the comments and get to everybody's opinions. You know, I read everything, but I can't say that I reflect on every single comment because that would be impossible. But I do take time to actually look at what everyone is saying. And if you expect that the people who are there, who are supporting you, especially those who are giving you money to speak their minds, are only supposed to say positive things when they speak their minds, you are delusional. There is not a person on earth who I don't have some criticisms for. That is ridiculous. Whether I choose to share them or not are completely different, of course. But everybody has a problem with what someone else is doing, at least in some minor capacity. So the fact that you think you're immune to that is just...
That's why people are down your throat about it. But I don't really care. Like, you have a right to feel the way you want, but...
You literally said that she's shaming you, even though you don't even know what she's shaming you for. You feeling ashamed has nothing to do with what she said. You're ashamed because you're ashamed. You're ashamed because you're doing something you shouldn't be and you know it. So the fact that you're getting on her case and you're like, well, I don't really care. You obviously care. If you didn't care, then you wouldn't have pointed out the fact that you're like, well, she's supposed to be a supporter. How dare she say anything negative about me? If you didn't care, you wouldn't have cared.
I don't know. I guess I don't know why people are so upset.
Because you make terrible decisions and then you lie to people about it. That's why people are upset. You're clearly at Method Man's place right now. And people are clearly going to have something to say about it because you clearly shared all of the information that people would need to make the connection. And then you're surprised that people are going to have that reaction? No, ma'am.
I mean, I can understand when I'm not doing okay, but, you know.
Are you doing okay now? You are at the house of a man who supplied you with hardcore drugs. Would you consider this to be a time when you're doing okay? Because if so, I would really like you to reevaluate what you think okay is.
No, Annie, everyone's just speculating and freaking out. Because I'm keeping things private.
You're not keeping things private. You are feeding everybody speculation without providing any answers, because it increases the amount of engagement that you get. It feeds your ego. It feeds the need that you have for attention.
I mean, I can't blame them,
But you can blame them. That's what you do. You shouldn't blame them, but you do. Because they come to the conclusions you don't want. They come to the wrong conclusions.
It's very...
She's literally
Anyways,
falling
guys,
asleep.
I should probably go for now.
So this is what I mean when she said she can't handle any kind of criticism from her, and this is why they can't hold her accountable, because she does this a lot. Anytime someone says anything to her that she doesn't want to hear, she immediately goes, well, I should go for now. She stayed on for like another 15 minutes if my recollection is correct at this point. So obviously she didn't really need to go. She just wanted to go because she didn't like the fact that she was getting heat on her own channel and her own live stream with members chat only turned on. And she's been doing that more and more, by the way. She's been getting more and more heat from her channel members. And she's been less and less capable of handling it.
No, Taylor, I like my lingerie.
So Taylor made this comment basically saying, did you make the list that we had talked about? Are you following through on any of your plans? I'll throw it up on screen, as I will with the other comments by Tracy, so that you guys are kind of aware of what was said, just for context. But when it comes to this, she like laughs it off, but you can see that it irritates her because she doesn't answer the question in full. She basically just answers one tiny piece of it that, she says, hey, why don't you wear a shirt on top of your lingerie? And she's like, well, I like my lingerie. Fine, then fucking like your lingerie. Wear it underneath your clothes. Wear it out over your clothes. Wear it with someone who will appreciate the lingerie. Don't put it on the internet where it will cause speculation.
I did do some of the to-do list.
I want to see it.
I'll talk about all that. Not like right this minute.
You never want to talk about it. She never wants to talk about any of that. I guarantee you it's because she's made very little to no progress. She might have started writing a list. She might have written, okay, Chantel's list, and then the date, and been like, now fill it in later. I think she'd consider that to have started writing the list.
I'm still living it. I'm still living my life. Well, I'll keep you updated, don't worry.
So 2 things in this. One, I mentioned when it comes to the writing of the list, I should probably say, Chantel is great at planning. She is really fundamentally very good at making a solid plan. She just has no follow through whatsoever. And as far as she's living her life, I don't know what she considers to be a life. I wouldn't consider this to be living. I would consider this to be existing. This just seems sad and pathetic to me. But hey, to each their own, I guess.
Okay, guys. I'll see you later. Hi, Sandra. Bye, guys.
And that will be it for her. Well, that will be it for Chantel's video. It was kind of, it was a very short clip that I was showing you guys, but I had a lot to say. Most of this is not just from this video. Of course, it's built up over the past week of all the content that I've been watching from her and stuff that I'm not making a dedicated video to. Some of my thoughts, I figured I'd just include them in here. This just seems like she's going backwards. I really hope that she was serious when she said that her family members watch her videos. I hope they watch this video, and I hope that it convinces them that there's something wrong with Chantel and that she needs fundamentally to have some more intervention. And there's something that Smokey Stephen Mark mentioned on their channel, which was having someone come in who was sober and who loved you and go through every place in your house where you could be hiding something and like get rid of everything, flush everything. And I also think that she should not be in any way, shape, or form using cannabis the way that she is. Someone in her family needs to force her to go see a doctor, and then she needs to only take the amounts that the doctor is recommending to help with her anxiety, because she's basically putting herself into a chemically induced coma at this point. And I don't think that's helping her, because at some point she might have to stop taking cannabis when it becomes too emotionally hard for her. And in that place, I don't know what she's going to do. I don't know what she's going to replace that addiction with. And it worries me. So I think having a control on it now might be better than trying to do it when it's like out of control, as it were. And that will be it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you hated this video, you can go ahead, give me a thumbs down. That's totally okay. I respect everybody's opinions here. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the notification bell down below and hit all if you want to know when I upload any videos right away. I've got all my social medias linked down below. I've got Instagram, where I've got food stuff and life stuff. I've got Twitter, where I'm sassy and toxic. And I've got Patreon. Think of Patreon as the tip jar for the internet. So if you like the job that I'm doing here and you would like me to continue, hey, consider tossing a few coins in my direction. You don't have to. It's not necessary, but genuinely, I would really appreciate it. And everything you guys give goes directly back into this channel. I bought another tripod. I don't know why my brain froze again, but I bought another tripod so that I could put my camera on something other than taping it to my wall, which is what I'm doing right now. So yeah, maybe like it should be here maybe in a couple days. So hopefully like the quality will improve. All of that is made possible by my lovely patrons. In particular, I wanted to say a special thank you to my girl, D. Higgins, my $25 patron. Thank you so, so much. You make a lot of this happen. Actually, it's with her donations that I bought this tripod. So it's not super expensive, but it's like pretty good for travel. Thank you guys so much for everything. I appreciate each and every one of you, even if you're not a patron. And as always, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace. A special thank you to my patrons, Acrophobe, Ariel M, Christina, Courtney EP, Wild Rose, Xanthal, Jam Beans, Colleen L, Debbie Elliott, Just a Jude, Kate O, and D. Higgins.